3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Devil Stockbroker. My name's Drew Demon, and this is our brainstorming session on all the latest DD that the Hell's Trading Floor community has been doing in order to locate new potential stock tickers, squeeze plays, long plays, short plays, any kind of plays. Right now, we are looking at a very nice, very green market that's been treating us very well. I'm about to pull up my Weeble here in just a second so that we can take a look at what progress we made today on a few of our choice plays. Oh, and I want to take this opportunity to give a warning to folks. Please make sure that if you're going to come up here to speak, that you're using headphones and avoid any kind of hot miking situation. That way, we're not echoing audio into the video, and that everybody that sees this after the fact or who's watching on YouTube will be able to get a nice, crisp, clear audio, hear all of the information that we have to share. So, Progenity has finally started to bounce off of its support, and we're starting to see a clear change in direction towards the bullish side. I want to clear out some of these support lines here, or at least widen the chart out. Messy, messy, messy chart. Okay. So one of the main focus topics for this brainstorming session is discussing latest bullish catalysts for Progenity. Progenity has experienced a really significant sell-off that took place from our original. We hit our high on November the 17th at about $6.20, and we've fallen since then all the way down to our low of $2.13. But after we hit this low, we established we reestablished this this support. Oh God, Weeble, what are you doing? Weeble always does this to me. I can't wait to get on TradingView. So tired of these bugs. So, all right, I think we got it now. All right, so just a quick look at the technicals. I drew this Fibonacci timeline. That's the dashed vertical yellow lines that you see here. Each of these are lines based on time and no other factors, drawn from the beginning of our lowest low to the next lowest low on the timeline. And then this basically creates a Fibonacci timeline based off of that sequence. So each one gets a little bit longer based on the Fibonacci formula. Just a quick explanation. Some might say that Fibonacci tells the future, and I'm inclined to agree because the Fibonacci timelines have lined up almost exactly, starting at these lowest low points, and I'm excited to see what we're going to find once we hit our next catalyst, which is expected to be coming soon. OBV is still currently plateauing significantly. Just watching the price action, even after these retraces and continuous moves upward, the OBV just stays perfectly flat as the price falls, which we would call that bullish divergence on the on balance volume. So if you're seeing the price move up and the OBV move with it, and then the price falls, but the OBV stays where it was and really doesn't make any changes in either direction significantly, then that's a bullish signal. And now we're at the point where the price is down to, we had a really nice day today, closing at $2.70. It's just fantastic. Lots of options expired in the money today. Would have been nice if we could have gotten above 3, but I'll take those 250 strikes any day. given what we've been dealing with for the past several weeks. So let me see here. We've got a couple of people that are looking to speak. Okay. And I'm sorry that I have to mention this again, but currently the Discord is set up so that only veteran members of the Discord are able to come up to speak on these streams. Um, I'm sorry. It's nothing personal. This is how we're setting it up, and for whatever reason, the permissions on the stage don't let us control it as finely as we would like to. So it's nothing personal if I decline your request. But just letting you know that only veteran speakers are able to come up to. Veteran members of the Discord are allowed to come up to speak, or analyst and above. So let's go ahead and discuss some of the catalysts that we've got going on for Progenity. Whoa. Okay, here we go. So this is the U.S. Patent Office website where they publish trademarks and patent releases on specific companies. Progenity's page, or Progenity Inc.'s patent page, shows the list of how many patents they've currently got in process right now. I did a count of this a while ago, but Progenity has well over 100 patents that they've currently applied for, and their recent one was. Sorry about that. Need to pull up the most recent patent. So they've been working on several different pieces of research, and this one kind of caught my eye just now. I haven't seen this yet, but this was a recent application that they just submitted yesterday. So this patent released yesterday, devices and systems for gastrointestinal microbiome detection and manipulation, which sounds particularly interesting. And then this one for the preeclampsia, using arrays for free and dissociated placental growth factor. I'll have to read this one later, but each of these patents are related to one, the OBDS, or the oral biotherapeutics delivery system, and then this one would be for presumably their precludia testing platform, which is to detect preeclampsia, the condition that is the second leading cause of maternal death in the world. And then this most recent, I wish I could see which of these were what they were dated based on their grant date, because there was one in particular that was granted just a little while ago. I'm seeing people in the chat are continuing the joke of the Chick-fil-A. It only works when Jason eats the Chick-fil-A. I don't have that kind of power and control over the stock market. I can't just eat a chicken sandwich and make everything go parabolic. We'll have to go back to the Google results, or DuckDuckGo as the case may be. This was one of the ones that I was looking for. By the way, I think good this is a good video to talk about some of the methods that are used in researching these things. Um, Google is an extremely powerful search engine that has all kinds of different ways to look and narrow down your searches for things. Um, if you're trying to look for something extremely specific, look up the term Google hacking and and read up about like the advanced search mechanics if you're looking to find very specific pieces of information about anything. It doesn't even have to be related to stocks specifically, but Google hacking, the art, I'll say, the art and the science of building search queries with Google in order to find extremely difficult to find information that is just buried beneath all the ads and the garbage that's all over the first 10 pages of Google. Like, how I found some of this stuff is just by narrowing down my searches to what just happened in the last couple of weeks. Yeah, exactly. So one of the things that you can actually do is if you're looking for something extremely specific, like if you wanted to, we'll say if you wanted to only look at any things that mention Prague specifically, and it has to be in there, then you put it in quotes, and it will look for that exact string. It has to have those results in it. You can also narrow it down by like websites. So if we look at site colon and do reddit.com, then you will only get results from reddit.com, and you can actually like go down to really specific terms and go narrow it down into specific subreddits. You can even go into like in URL, which forces a certain keyword to be in the URL. Yeah, exactly. So like if you wanted to look up specific Reddit posts that were just on Progenity or had Progenity in the URL from reddit.com within the past week, then you can do all of these like extremely narrowed down search terms in order to find this stuff. And I learned this in my profession as a penetration tester, doing hacking and doing research on companies in order to find weaknesses in their infrastructure and stuff like that. But this applies to so many different things. Doing research, even if you're just a writer or if you're a full-time stock trader, this is an extremely powerful way to do research, and it is an ocean deep how specific you can get with this stuff, and you'll find information that is buried down to, like, if you just searched for the term progenity, you would get millions of results, and it's somewhere buried in like the 100,000th page of Google, but it could be some extremely important information that could change everything about your thesis, or it could be a signal that, like, now it's the time to buy or the time to sell or whatever. And it can apply to so many things. Learn how to do this. Doing research with the power of Google is extremely helpful. So I know it's taking away from our discussion on DD, but this is how to do due diligence. This is how to do research. So look up the term Google hacking, or Google dorking. A lot of it has to do with information security, since it is an infosec term, but it applies to everything. That any piece of research you want to do with Google, learn how to do this. It's extremely powerful. All right, let's see. So these new latest applications. There's a lot of just there's a lot of medical terminology, jargon, and acronyms that I don't understand the meaning of buried within this. But it's worth just pointing out this resource from the USPTO. The Patent Office has all kinds of useful information to give you an idea of what direction the company is going. Just the number of patents related to their preeclampsia testing platform and the ability to detect and identify certain risk, uh, um, like certain hormones or any risk factors that may be presenting themselves in the human body. Um, they're all of these patents are related to this type of research that Progenity is doing, and a lot of it is difficult for anyone to understand that's not in the industry. But for us as traders, it's important for us to recognize the direction that the company is going, based on where their focus lies in establishing patents and new discoveries that they've made. And, you know, hopefully in this community, we'll be able to find people who are experts in this area that'll be willing to talk with us and kind of explain the meaning behind some of these things, because I've had the benefit of talking with some extremely smart people that are that do understand this. And one of the things that they told me was that the OBDS, the oral biotherapeutics drug delivery system, is so monumentally life changing that it will fundamentally change the field of medicine, and that's what got me so excited about Progenity in the first place. Like, let's take a look at this one, because I recognize these IL-12 and IL-23 inhibitors. This is related to ionics treatments. I was hoping to find something on ionic here in the patent information that would give us some clue. But that drug, the IL-12 and IL-13 inhibitors, is related to a drug that Ionics is working on, or have at least created and gotten FDA approval of. And it's known now that they are partnering with Progenity. That is known and confirmed based on the presentation that Progenity delivered, showing that Ionix was working with them for this exact type of drug. And we can actually use this information to look specifically for these individual people, which had something to do with the invention of this. Like Harry Stiley, that's the CEO or the former CEO of Progenity, who's now he's the sitting board member for, I believe he's the chairman of the Progenity board, and he's also sitting chairman on a couple of other companies as well underneath Savitar Capital Management. I need to be careful about this because I'm doing this live, and I want to I'm particularly touchy about my identity and my privacy. So I'm going to be careful about opening up certain web pages just to give everybody a heads up. No, it's okay. I have false accounts that I can I have false accounts that I can work with. Like I've been building I have been building all kinds of I've been building all kinds of barriers and things to throw off my identity, so stuff gets lost and people end up getting sent down rabbit holes. I think I mentioned this. Yeah, I think I mentioned it a while back that I think I mentioned it a while back that I was being threatened by a teenager who wanted to swat me and said that he was going to he was gonna he was gonna send the police to kick in my door. I did, I don't understand his motivation for doing this. I know that it's like he was a person that was in a couple of different discords that I was a member of, and he was actually the same person that made me leave Twitter for a little while because he was screenshotting my stuff inside of Discord and publishing it to other Discords. So that was kind of a problem for a little while. All right, let me see if I can find Mr. Kevin David Howe and find out where he's at. I'm doing this off screen because I want to keep. I'm trying to keep my as much information off of off of social media as possible. So please bear with me. I don't mean to make you watch a blank screen. Let's see. Maybe we can do this. We can show an exact use case for that Google hacking that I talked about. Do site, linkedin.com, Kevin David Howe, and Progenity. Maybe he's not on LinkedIn. He's a pretty aged gentleman. I did see some information about him in the patent information. Let's see. He shows up in all of these reports. For the patent releases, but he doesn't show up anywhere on social media. I think he's like in his late 60s or mid 70s. So I guess I picked the wrong person as an example for this, but what can you do? Instead of just exclusively talking about this research that we're doing right now, just trying to look for interesting information on the company, why don't we have a couple members from the analyst team or the mod team come up here and share some of their recent plays that they've made? Because this isn't just meant to be about Progenity. This is about other opportunities that the Discord's discovered. So I don't want to just be this exclusively being me talking about Progenity the whole time. We've got other things that we've got going on, like AMC, the Spider-Man release went incredibly well. We saw a huge rise in price with AMC, and funny enough, we also we also observed something really bizarre with AMC and Senseonics chart looking perfectly identical. So I don't know if anybody else saw this when I pointed it out on Twitter, but if you look at the two charts right next to each other, they're exactly the same. It's just a little bit upsetting. I mean, this is algorithms at work. Even the volume is tracking with it with the same trend. Just a little bit frustrating. Let me see what other information we've got out there. A lot of people have been sending me stuff on Twitter, which I've been really appreciative of, trying to get information out to me on different catalysts and things of that nature. One other thing that we can look at instead of just exclusively this information here, there's been some really interesting movement on the flow today. So overwhelmingly bullish floor trades that have been happening back and forth, going on all day today. Go ahead and move these filters around. We'll have to reduce this a little bit. Progenity is one of those stocks where all the big players are like sub $5,000. You know, like all this movement on like 3,000, 5,000 premiums going back and forth, all bullish bets. Because everything's turning. And it's exciting because a lot of the buys are on the ask side and a lot of the sells are on the bid side. So that tells you that there's a sense of urgency in getting these trades in. And it's been this way all day today. So seeing the flow turning around, like the put call ratio fell, which is good. A smaller put call ratio is a bullish thing. Showed that the flow reversed by a significant amount. We've got more calls being bought rather than being sold, and there's a lot of puts being sold. Both bullish signs. So I'm looking forward to see what happens. This may be we may be coming up on the close of this consolidation that Progenity's been in for a while. Oh, we've got some. Oh, thank you, Verde. Shout out to Verde for sending me this. espace.net is an excellent source of information on patent releases. Interesting. Well, that's the earliest publication date. To those asking, we're currently looking at Progenity, and we're going through a list of their recent patents. They've had several patent releases um, and grants that were made. They have a huge list of patents, so we're not going to go through all of this today. But I am looking for highlights and things of interest. Sorry, Kat, did you have something? Yeah, absolutely. Um, with the OBDS, everybody's especially excited if there's some kind of an announcement of a partnership with Humira. There are a lot of biosimilars though, and Humira is about ready to lose its patent rights. So the even though a partnership with AbbVie, the creator of the original drug, would be extremely beneficial and bullish, it's not necessarily required. They can go with another company that wants to create a biosimilar form of Humira, and that would allow Progenity to work with another company in order to create a competing drug that is delivered in an entirely new way. And that gives the opportunity for another company to overtake AbbVie, which is another possibility. And if I'm thinking about just a few candidates, like I know that Eli Lilly and Pfizer do a lot of this. They'll create biosimilar or bioequivalent drugs that are able to skirt around the patent requirements, so that they're not like infringing on the patents of other pharmaceutical companies. But the method of delivery, like any difference in the way that a drug is delivered or how it's synthesized or or how it's absorbed in the body, all of these are factors that can change the um, that changes the drug enough that the company that develops this new method or this new delivery system or this new synthesis method can release it without infringing on another company's patent. Yeah, exactly. And that would be a huge motivation for Pfizer if Pfizer was looking to get in on this and to create its own competing patent for a biosimilar Humira drug, then it makes Progenity a natural ally because they're a really small cap company. They could easily absorb them, or they could easily fund them for research and then make exclusive licensing, come to an exclusive licensing agreement, and that would allow Pfizer to create and market a whole new type of drug that delivers itself in an entirely novel way and also gives them access to this new delivery system, which they can experiment with, do studies with, test with other types of drugs, and bring to clinical trial for other use cases for the same drug. Yeah. At the moment, I'm trying to find the exact patent, and for whatever reason, I'm struggling to come up with it. There was a new detection method that they developed for detecting nucleic acid molecules, like single molecule components of DNA. And I was this would have been so helpful to have Opti Financial on this for, because I would love to talk to him. He's he's been talking to me, or he was talking to me a few weeks ago when Progenity was getting ready to make its move up towards $6, and the he brought on a couple members on Twitter to talk about it. And there was one guy, I wish I could remember, it was a doctor, jumped onto the call to talk about the drug delivery system. And what he's told me was so exciting about it. Um, just the guy was over the moon describing the delivery mechanism, because with the OBDS, the the problem with Humira is that it has to be delivered intravenously, and that's the whole reason for the buzz about this pill, is that it's able to deliver a drug orally that can only be administered into the bloodstream, but it's so ineffective to just inject Humira directly into the bloodstream, because then it goes through your entire system and it has an effect on your entire system. In the case of Humira, it's really meant to treat gastrointestinal and autoimmune diseases like Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. So, because the drug delivery system that Progenity's created is able to be ingested, it naturally is going to go through the GI tract, and it can target those specific areas of the body without having to administer it systematically. So, you use smaller amounts of the drug and it's targeted. It only gets administered to those areas that actually need it. And then you don't have to deal with like the side effects of massive immunity suppression, which make people susceptible to all kinds of, diseases. They basically have to be extremely careful and live a almost sterile life as a consequence of having to take this drug regularly, depending on how severe it is. Awesome. Okay, so this was from a while back. That's right. This was the news of the PGN 600. Okay. Yeah, I didn't. I got into Progenity long after this took place, but this was frequently referenced in DD posts as one of the major catalysts, and this is the first time that tofacitinib was, I think, brought into the discussion. Which, let's see, I saw it here just a second ago. Yeah, this is it. Tofacitinib. That's the drug that was created by Pfizer, and then adalimumab. That's Humira right there. So this was like one of the first actual mentions of these two drugs, which are both meant to target specific types of diseases that affect the GI tract. So I'm not sure about like the drug levels that have to be taken with these particular drugs when they're administered intravenously. But I do know that they are higher doses than this, because that was one of the major test cases for this was delivering a smaller amount of the drug. That's interesting. So this statement right here shows that the the actual administration of the drug showed 25 to 50 times higher concentration in the affected area of the body in the GI tract when it was administered with this delivery system, as compared with the traditional tablet, which is just a dissolvable tablet when it's delivered orally. So tofacitinib is delivered orally in its traditional form. But what's significant is that the specialized drug delivery system that Progenity created is that this actually shows from their preclinical results that they were able to give it a much higher concentration in the affected areas so that it allows the drug to be more effective without going systematic and without having most of it be destroyed in the stomach, because that's the biggest problem with these drugs is they can't survive stomach acid. Proximal meaning the proximal being rearmost. So yeah, like the large intestine or the back end. So any member who's a veteran level member of the Discord is able to raise their hand and request speak. Everybody veteran level and above is free to jump up here and ask questions, or just chat with us on stream for a little while if there's anything that you want to say. Um, we are focused on doing due diligence and research here, but this doesn't have to be just me and Kat up here. We are having a lot of fun because reading patents and preclinical study releases is fun to us. But it really is exciting stuff because like some of these drugs that is actually being studied, some of these drugs are like they're the most effective drugs in the world, but they're extremely difficult to manufacture. And what this study proved was that you can administer less of it with a very simple pill, and it doesn't require a doctor's visit. It doesn't require people to get an injection, so you're completely abandoning the fear of needles, and it's a smaller dose, so you're getting less adverse reactions and side effects. So yeah, like this excites me because this doesn't have to just apply to these two particular drugs. This can apply to the entire world of medicine. This can apply to things like insulin. Like imagine if you are a type 1 diabetic, and anybody who's in here that's invested in Sensionics that's done their research will understand the significance of this. If you could just take a pill to regulate your dose of insulin, and better yet, what if the pill was able to just sit in the stomach with a charge of insulin, and you had to take it one day, and that pill was programmed to sync with like your smartphone app, and it saw how much insulin level you were currently at, so you have like a Sensionic sensor, and that tells the pill how much insulin your levels are currently at, and it's able to just, because the way that these pills work is they actually like open up and deploy by attaching themselves to the wall of the intestine and inserting a very small needle. Imagine if you were able to just like have that pill automatically administer a regulated dose of insulin every so often in order to keep your levels on uh, in check and keep things level. Because one of the biggest problems with insulin and being a type 1 diabetic, you have to constantly be monitoring it. Like you can't slack on it. You have to be on top of it. And having to constantly stick yourself with a needle all the time just to go and get a blood test every hour, your insulin levels and your blood sugar levels are like going up and down constantly because your body, like in a healthy individual, does this automatically, regulating these levels. But thanks to insulin pumps and thanks to transdermal sensors with Dexcom and these two devices syncing together, they've been able to create these cohesive systems that monitor your blood sugar levels and your insulin levels and deploy a proper amount of insulin that your body should be, if you had a healthy pancreas and liver, then your body would do this automatically. But since it can't, this technology does it for you. But the insulin pumps are extremely delicate instruments, so it's difficult to have an active lifestyle. Um, and if you have this needle stuck in your stomach because of how the system works with Dexcom's G6 series of transdermal sensors, like you can't do rock climbing or play ice hockey or football or anything like that. That's not possible. You can't do that because it's too dangerous. But think about the possibilities for the field of medicine if you had something like Progenity, which synced with Sensionics sensor, which is just inserted in the arm, by which time the technology will be able to reside in the arm beneath the skin for more than a year, and you just like have to just take a pill every single day, and this electronic pill just opens up, attaches to the wall of your intestine, it connects to your sensor automatically for you, which connects to your smartphone, and it tells the pill, hey, we need a dose of insulin in like such and such micrograms, and it just says okay, and then just releases a micro dose of insulin. Like that's the kind of power that this system has. Like I don't think that it's truly sunk in how incredible this system is. it can apply to so many drugs. It can apply to vaccines. It can apply to cancer treatments. It can apply to insulin and type 1 diabetes. It can apply to just pain management. Yeah, I think that that's got to be like the biggest advantage is the lifestyle changes that this would have because, like in America, if I recall correctly, I'm going based off of memory, but I believe that there are over 20 million insured Americans that are dealing with diabetes in some form, and it's extremely disruptive to anyone's lifestyle. Most people that deal with type 1 are they've had it their whole lives, right? But people who develop type 2 diabetes either from simply, you know, if they're overweight or they've if they've developed some kind of an autoimmune condition or they've got pancreatitis, all of these conditions can result in people going diabetic. It can present itself later on in life. And it because of the loss of your freedom and your ability to act and move in the world as, another normal human being, you have to constantly be considering like what am I eating and not even like just to feel good, just to survive. Like you have to worry about like the sugar in desserts. You can't have certain foods. You can't eat whenever you want. You have to eat in very specific, regimented amounts. And every single time that you do or you're thinking about it, you have to go ahead and stick yourself in the finger with a needle and drop some blood on a test strip. Like, it sucks. And that's just one case for these. Like, there's all kinds of diseases like ankylosing spondylitis. That's an awful disease. And Humira treats that. Anybody that wants to know about ankylosing spondylitis, just fair warning, it's it's it may be disturbing, but if you Google the images, ankylosing spondylitis as it presents itself in humans is when your bones become extremely brittle, and when they break, they fuse together very in very odd ways. They don't heal correctly, and it causes people to be contorted. It basically fuses your bones to flesh and fuses joints together. It's one of the most extreme autoimmune conditions in in humans, and it's a hereditary condition. It presents itself genetically. You're just born with it. But like, think of if you want to see like one of the most extreme cases, look up the Elephant Man, or the what was there's the Crooked Man or the Bent Man. There was a guy who had so many of these bone breaks that his body was folded over and he couldn't move because his face had basically been attached to his thigh, and he was like bent over like that for, I think it was like 15 years. He lived his life that way, just completely bent over. Oh, All right.
To confirm that on YouTube. Well, we can't really confirm on YouTube, but if you happen to be in Discord and YouTube, let us know.
Okay. They should be able to hear you now. I think I've got that fixed. Go ahead and say something, Kat.
Hello, hello, hello. Scrap Queen, can you hear me, sir? Or, well, ma'am or sir. I don't know, because you're Scrap Queen.
We'll see. We'll see how that goes. I think that's got it now. Man, I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. I just feel bad for them now because they probably just heard you go dead silent for really long periods of time and didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. Ugh, God. These growing pains with trying to figure out how to do YouTube has been a little bit
I was gonna
frustrating.
say we're getting it rolling. We're getting it rolling. Oh, perfect. Okay, you guys can hear me now. All right. Well, let's go ahead and start from the top, shall we?
Oh yeah, let's start it
go,
all over. Hey
go,
everybody, this is
go
Cat
on
Morris.
back.
He's one of my mods and one of the best analysts here in the Discord.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Okay, well, we'll continue on. Glad everyone can hear now.
The main thing is that everybody's able to hear your sultry, sexy voice.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Same to you, my good sir.
Anytime. Let's look at some of the stuff that's been going on with AMC. We talked a lot about Progenity. The big news, obviously, is the awesome performance of Spider-Man. Let's actually go see what the Spider-Man box office results are, if they're out yet.
Yeah, I saw something along the lines of it had the highest gross of any. I think they said any movie in 2021, and like the majority of them combined, or something crazy like that. I was like, oh wow, yeah.
Yeah. Just overall, Spider-Man is the best grossing. It's historically been the best grossing superhero series in the world. A December opening with about 1.1 million people seeing it at an AMC cinema. That's amazing. At $13 a ticket, that's $13 million gross just at the box office for the first opening night. That's nuts. Surprised to find Market Watch discussing this. It's a very
Right.
short article though. They don't like to talk much about it.
They're like, yeah, Spider Man, it did okay. Well, the
It
kids
did
did good.
okay.
Yeah, like they did all right.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Market Watch is one of the it's one of those blog and market analysis websites that's mainly funded by Citadel Securities.
Of course.
Spider-Man saves AMC at least for a weekend. Come on. This FUD train, man.
I was gonna say, I mean, even if you look at just strictly gross profits, ticket sales, like all the things combined, I mean, you can at least argue that they're progressively doing better.
Right.
I mean, I think it's kind of unfair to say otherwise comparatively to 2020 or 2020 thing time.
I don't really get it, honestly. There's Cinemark's doing fine. Why is everybody saying that Cinemark isn't a dead cat? Like why is that the movie chain? Why is AMC the movie chain that's exclusively the only movie chain that's going to die, and their stock is just fine, but the movie theater industry as a whole is just completely dead? Like I don't understand the logic there. Like there's a disconnect. I have to compare their charts now because to me that argument is so hilarious. See, it's CNK, right? Yep,
Yeah.
Cinemark Holdings.
I mean, the market cap for CNK is just shy of 2 billion. Market cap for AMC right now is just shy of 15 billion. Let's see.
Let's look at this on the weekly so that we can see the long-term trend. Yeah, since the COVID sell-off, yeah, the COVID crash hit everything hard, but like Cinemark, they're up 300% since then. AMC's up over 1,000% on the year, which I guess you can absolutely try to argue with me that that's overpriced. But there's people that are trying to say that AMC's a dead company, that it's a zombie company, and I'm just like, what the hell do you mean? How can you say that the movie theater industry is dying when there's more people there's more people watching going to the theaters now during the COVID? Like, we're still in the middle of COVID, but people are bored as hell. And yeah, like 2020 was bad for everybody. Like, it was bad for the whole theater industry. It was bad for every industry. But like, streaming services, as good as streaming services are, like, I still like to go to the movie theaters. I like to do it regularly. I will pay I will pay to go to the movies 3 times a month and spend 10 times as much money at a movie theater as I will with a streaming service. And the thing is like, AMC's got so many more business prospects in front of it now, because on top of movie theaters and their acquisition of movie theaters, I should say, being being they've used this opportunity, this whole COVID crisis, as an opportunity to acquire more properties in theaters, that now they own all of the top grossing theaters on in the most highly densely populated parts of America and elsewhere in the globe. I believe they still have theaters in South America and Europe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they still own theater chains in South America and Europe.
Well, that's a good question.
Well, in any case, you know what I just noticed is on the 5 minute chart, GameStop looks identical to AMC too, and Senseonics. They're all doing that. They all did it. This is the exact same algorithm. I just noticed this. Look at these three charts. They're identical. So frustratingly stupid. There's no manipulation. The market is healthy. The market is fine. This is normal.
Yeah, I feel like we've been seeing a lot of lockstep movement between the roughly 2.5 weeks of bleeding and then the 1 week of hope that we kind of had there, and then the kind of sideways. I feel like everything's been
Mm-hmm.
following suit with everything else,
Bla-
essentially.
BlackBerry did it too. Is there anything not on the IWM index that did this today? God, that's just incredible to me. I need to catch up with chat here. I'm still doing a bad job of reading along in the chat and keeping the conversation going.
Sorry, I'm a bad mod. That's kind of my job to bring stuff to your attention.
No, you're fine. You're helping me with this, keeping people engaged with that sexy voice.
Oh, I remember I actually did see a question that I thought was interesting, but now I cannot find it. Oh, someone asked about the Wyckoff pattern, I believe, and if you still think that's viable or something of that nature.
I do think that the Wyckoff pattern is still going on. I'll bring up AMC on the long term. I referenced this in my video that I released today, but this was extremely cool. Oh, jeez. Weeble's charts start doing really weird things after I've been See what I mean? Like, I don't even understand what it's doing. I'll just look at it on the weekly. Look at this chart. Look at this megaphone pattern. When
Takes
I
me a second to react to things you say, by the way. It's because I'm waiting for the stream to update with your chart for like 10 seconds. So I'm trying to see what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, I got you. It's all good. You know what I realize is I should be trying to stream this to Discord too.
I didn't want to break the flow, but yeah, I didn't know if there was an easy way for you to screen share while you're doing that, but I don't want you to mess up the stream or anything. But
It doesn't like show an obvious way to do that. I'm trying to I'm trying to find a way to do that. Is nobody brave enough to come up and chat? It seems like nobody wants to.
I'm surprised we haven't had more hands raised or anything like that throughout the thing. Maybe they just once again enjoy your sultry, sexy voice. Maybe that's the problem here. They're like entranced.
I don't know. I don't know why, but I would like to invite some people to come up and chat.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I mean, I love talking to you, True Demon, but
Because this isn't just about like what research I've done. This is about the community's research and trying to get everybody engaged in it.
oh, we have our executive manager in the house. I see. I don't know if she's available to talk at the moment, but she is indeed in the audience. We got a hand raise. Mr. Darth Trader.
All right, go ahead and bring him up.
If only we could figure out indeed how to do that. Say, right speak. He has been invited to come speak on the platform.
Okay, Darth Trader, you're free to come up to speak if you like. Currently, I'm looking at INO stock because somebody in the chat asked me what my thoughts were on this. It says that their mother has cancer is how they stumbled on them. Spicy ginger. Thank you for bringing this stock up. I'm so sorry to hear about your mother. I have not done enough fundamental research on Inovio Pharma, but I do know that they're one of those heavily shorted stocks. Let me see if I can go ahead and bring bring Vortex into this.
I do recall correctly. I feel like I saw some unusual whales alerts. No, actually, now that he mentions that, maybe I'm mistaken.
Okay. I really like what I really do like what Vortex has done with their platform recently. It's been a fantastic change seeing everything that they've done. This
Hey, can
chart
you guys
is
hear me now?
Oh, hey.
Hey,
Yeah,
what's going
yeah,
on,
we
man?
can hear you. Welcome to
Sorry,
the
it took
stream.
me a second to figure out how to do that on the Discord here. Hey,
Yeah.
It took me embarrassingly long as well. No worries.
yeah, I just have a quick question and then I'll mute myself. My question around Progenity is, do you think that the golden cross that we had in the 5200 SMA has deterred some algo shorting to the point that that's partly responsible for the drop off we've seen in volume since that's happened?
That's a good question. let's see. Let's go ahead and bring this up. The Golden Cross happened on the, let's see, this was the daily chart, right? That's what you're talking about, the daily Golden Cross?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Because I've noticed a pretty significant volume decrease since then.
Yeah, you do bring up a good point. So we actually had that cross happen on our down day. That was when we hit the worst of it. And the very next day, we gapped down and then filled the gap and absolutely crushed every bit of momentum that shorts had made from that point forward. We did retrace, but we've only made it to about half of that candle. So even though we were touching, we were, I guess, teasing support at $2.40. We've still since made several bounces. We keep bouncing off of this level, and I do think that there is that golden cross is scary to shorts, um, because shorting in general is a long term choice. A lot of short, like I don't feel like most shorts get into a short position for short term day trade plays. It's just not that common. And maybe that's just my bias as a younger trader, but what I have noticed is that a lot of the short plays and a lot of the stocks that are heavily shorted show averages that exceed 90 days up until there's a lot of volatility. And once there's volatility, that's when that's when shorts start coming in and like shifting positions back and forth. But I feel like that's mostly market makers that are doing that because market makers use the shorts as a tool to fulfill trading orders. And it just doesn't seem like people who are choosing a bearish directional play will do that. They just don't seem to want to take those short term trades, probably because the volatility is so unpredictable. So you're looking for that momentum, that like a long term bearish catalyst to drag the price of a stock down. Or unless you know something. If you know something is going to happen with a company like dilution, then taking a short makes sense.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. And, um, I posted on Trading Floor, I believe it was yesterday or day before, that given what I've seen in XBI and how aggressively biotech is being shorted as a whole, the
Mm-hmm.
fact that we've had this golden cross and have held pretty well relative to the XBI, to me feels like just a little bit of a buyer strike waiting on a catalyst that, you know, I view all in all as extremely positive and bullish in my opinion. So
Totally.
I appreciate you taking the time to answer my question, and I'll mute myself and listen to your response. Thanks.
Yeah. Let's actually bring up the Ortex to see what else we can find. I haven't done a lot of technical analysis on Progenity the last couple of days because we've been in this range bound consolidation. But now, as we've broken through this wedge, is that's kind of the confirmation level for me because we broke through this resistance. We touched it one, two, three, four, 5 times before we broke out. Um, I kind of feel like this one was an automatic bounce since we retraced so significantly. But being in this range for so long and giving ourselves time for our average to finally cross definitely shows a change in the momentum for the long term. So I do think that we're going to see some green days ahead, and that shorts are you're going to find it more difficult to find shorts willing to take the risk given how oversold the stock is. Because look at the RSI. The RSI has been just oversold for a full week, and it's been bouncing off of the oversold level. If there is short day traders that are likely to come back into this, I don't know. They might try to come in at these resistance levels as we try to pass up $3.40. This is my Fibonacci extension here. I don't know, Kat. You've been doing technical analysis for a long time. What's your take?
So actually, my chart setup is pretty similar to yours right now. I think when I was doing your stream the other day, I actually noticed it for the first time because I don't think you've actually shared your TA on Prog like on the full scale with me before. I actually have linked my chart as well. And the Fibonacci's pretty much match just little support and resistance lines that I've made. I had it breaking out of that wedge December 14th, and down retesting 15th and the 17th today. And it seems to have held up pretty strong. I mean, I hope that if it manages to hold both of those barriers, both the breaking out of the wedge and the ascending trend line from, starting back at late September, that it would continue upward.
As I'm looking at this, daily chart, I'm kind of noticing that this gap down that occurred right before the major move for the week of November's expiration kind of seems like this pattern's played itself out a few times now. We get these big gap downs and consolidations before we move up explosively, and it happens quickly. I'm trying to compare the OBB to.
Yeah, that seems to be the common trend that I would see on like the 2 hour, and then backing out a little bit. Of course, it's basically just one gigantic bull channel. You know, if you go out to the daily, that it kind of finally had its break back in October. It's been forming that ascending line of support. So it's like the smaller patterns within the 2 hour and the dailies, and then using them out to the weeklies and monthlies seem to be larger versions of themselves, essentially.
Yeah.
And I don't want to cut you off on the prog thing, but like I said, I'm a rusty mod here, so I've missed a bunch of questions that people have been shouting at me here. So I just want to make sure we get through. I'm not sure if you covered some of these. One of them was from Boom Boomer, one being the pill scalability and then the pill retrieval, as far as what you were talking about here.
Gotcha. In terms of scalability, if you're referring to how the pill delivery system can scale out to multiple different drug platforms, or to be a drug platform for multiple types of drugs, the sky's kind of the limit. Just because there's so many different types of treatments that have to be given intravenously, this makes all of those so much more available, and especially for drugs that have to be administered directly into the gastrointestinal tract in order for it to be effective. It introduces the possibility of giving all kinds of drugs that no longer are restricted by their survivability in the stomach, or the dangers of them reacting within the stomach. So, I mean, this can apply to not just Humira by itself is awesome because literally the most profitable drug in the world ever. That would be huge. But you've also got inflammation reducing medications, even down to ibuprofen, like ibuprofen and other NSAID drugs. They break down in the stomach, but they eventually get absorbed into the bloodstream, and then they inhibit pain receptors. If it can survive, if the drug itself actually gets past the stomach, it no longer runs the risk of causing ulcers. So you could open this possibility up to any number of types of drugs. It really, really does. And even vitamins. Like, I just thought of this, but the purpose of the stomach is to break down things in order to make them absorbable by the intestines. But because of modern medicine, we're able to administer things that are already in a pre-broken down format, something that can be absorbed directly into the bloodstream and have it delivered readily. doing that intravenously um, is obviously effective to a degree, especially for systematic drugs. But if you're trying to like get something into the body that needs to be broken down and absorbed by the GI tract through the intestines, and you're trying to get it past the stomach, then this drug delivery system makes that incredibly powerful and extremely useful. And the second
And that's
part of
also what I. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. What's up?
What I just find interesting about that as well is that it's a lot of companies like this are usually waiting on like a drug approval, but it seems like in this regard, they're the vehicle for the drug. Like they're building the better mousetrap that you can't really like. I mean, you could replicate, but like I said, they seem to have just this massive head start on it. So it seems to be different than like a pharmaceutical, like waiting and crossing our fingers for a drug announcement type of thing.
Right, exactly. And then the second part of
And
that
that's the
question
second part.
was yeah, the second part of that question was retrievability. That's the best part. The pill doesn't have to be retrieved. I know that I said earlier is that it attaches to the wall of the intestine, but our intestine heals itself by um, kind of like just shedding walls. I'm sorry if this is kind of gross to people, but our intestine, our in the inner walls of our intestines constantly break down and like shed the first layer of it, and it replaces itself, kind of like how a tree grows out rings of bark. It just keeps pushing outward. Well, the same thing happens in the intestines in an inward direction, where new layers of intestine grow from within and then push out the old layer, and then the old layer sheds off, and then we pass it naturally. So, this pill, once it's administered its drug, it eventually, after about a week or 2 weeks, it'll just fall off and it'll pass naturally. It doesn't even have to have a special system for detaching itself. It just our body takes care of it. And because the delivery system can retract the needle, um, it poses no danger. It's kind of like if you think of um, I forget what they're called, but the syringes or the syrettes that nurses use that'll automatically pull the needle back into a safety chamber, and it's like a safer needle system. It's a spring-loaded needle that, as soon as you push it all the way down and then release it, the needle gets yanked back by a spring and pulled inside of the syringe chamber, and then the needle is contained. That same that same process can apply here with this drug delivery system, where it finishes administering its drug, and then the needle is retracted, brought into the chassis of the. It's like super small, like the size of your pinky nail or smaller, and then the needle is pulled back into that that housing, and then after a couple of weeks your intestines just they go through, do their thing, and then it sheds it off, and you just poop it out.
That should be the motto. Just poop it out, man.
Just poop it out. just just
That's
let
my
it go.
new
just
autobiography title.
just let it go.
A couple of couple other things. And real quick for everyone who is listening here, and like I said, growing pains and all that. I'm noticing that obviously people are posting not only in YouTube live stream questions and in live stream chat. If we could try to just keep all the questions to live stream questions, just so I can keep track of them, and then like I said he'd post the YouTube ones in here for me. The next one, Dilly actually mentioned, she said the whole December market has been forming the White Claw pattern. I'm assuming Wyckoff pattern. She said she just wants to see if maybe you're seeing that, how you mentioned earlier, similar patterns, I guess, across the whole market there in that regard.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I see, the thing is like the Wyckoff pattern itself isn't it's not an algorithm that causes it. Like, it's not this all of these charting patterns, and especially the Wyckoff pattern, is something that has existed in the stock market since Richard Wyckoff, the person who developed or identified this charting pattern since the early 1900s. And his method of identifying accumulation and distribution in the stock market has held true even into um, even into current day computerized trading. So it's it is the symptom or the net effect of companies doing a certain type of thing in the stock market. Algorithms will trade however they want, but Wyckoff patterns tell you what direction they're moving in and what the stock market is doing in response to a stock's price action. And if the Wyckoff pattern presents itself in certain ways where buying volume rises, causes the price to rise, and then the price falls significantly during low volume, then these patterns, which present themselves, tell you that there's overall accumulation occurring. Someone actually did me a huge favor of pointing out the Wyckoff pattern on the long term for Progenity. And it's funny if you draw out the Wyckoff starting from here where we had this initial fallout and we hit the worst point in the price action for the chart. Let's see. I'll go ahead and start it over here. From that top to this bottom would have been the phase A of the Wyckoff pattern. Hold on, guys, 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Right. So these two legs here, where the price moved extremely far down, we had the initial start of a Wyckoff pattern all the way down to this, which would have been the preliminary support, as we would call it, and then an automatic bounce, and then a fall down to a selling climax. If we actually draw out the Wyckoff on these much longer terms, we kind of form this trying to think of how to describe it. It's kind of like a really wonky W with a really shallow bottom. This is so hard to draw.
We'll figure out some new charting for you soon.
Mm-hmm. It's so hard to draw. I need to get TradingView. I'm so tired of working with this.
I was gonna say, like, I've never actually desktop charted with Weeble, and now watching you do it, I'm like, oh yeah, we gonna do some stuff.
So if we look here at this Wyckoff chart, the way that it's presented itself, we have this would have been the top of it, okay, and in a Wyckoff accumulation, there's this consistently low volume period during which it's selling off precipitously, just constantly dropping in price, but overall the OBV is in it's on a rise. It's very difficult to see it here, but now you can kind of see it when I take away all of that other crap, is that the OBV is plateauing the way that it did before, even as the price is selling off. And even these small bumps in the price result in the OBV just shooting up really fast. And then the sell-off happens and the OBV slowly decays. And we'll have like these periods where a massive amount of shares are being traded that during periods of heightened volatility. It really is beneficial to look back at the history of a chart so that you can see other patterns that may have presented themselves in the past. You can gain a lot of insight by doing that. But now that we've
I'm sorry, go ahead.
now that we've entered this whole new period after these huge sell-offs, we see the volume coming in. These spikes were pretty much the initial tell that something was coming. And what the Wyckoff pattern what's so indicative of a Wyckoff pattern is these W's, just continuous W's, and they touch the same levels of support and resistance every single time. Let's just draw this here. Here was our initial top, and then here was the preliminary support. And then when you break through that, you hit this support down here, this red line. Let me go ahead and break these into some different colors so we can make them a little more obvious. Oh, hold on. Trying to chart this out in Weeble sucks. I've decided that Weeble sucks officially. So
This is our way of getting into Switch.
right. So this green line is like kind of like our ceiling that we're looking to break overall when we talk about Wyckoff patterns. This was the high. This is where we fell in price. That's like our target to break through. And that is like the ceiling where there is nothing above it. There is just open sky. And it's funny how these supports appear repeatedly. So we go from green to orange. This is preliminary support. And we consolidate for a while, then break through it and drop down to the selling climax. And hit another top here at that preliminary support, which has become resistance. And then we break down again and hover or consolidate at that selling climax for a little while again, and then drop down to the lowest point. This actually could be a spring. It's if you look at a Wyckoff accumulation chart, this here could be a spring. And the spring is traditionally at or below the selling climax in the early portion of the phase A of a Wyckoff accumulation. But once you've hit the spring, it triggers a volume surge. And that's exactly what happened throughout the rest of this period. And if our target is all the way up here, if this is what we're looking to get, then we've experienced a spring. We've hit our resistance, fell again, and tested a new level of support, and then broke out again. And this is essentially us reaching for preliminary support again. When this plays out, if this is truly a Wyckoff pattern, then what is going to happen at the close of this is we will shoot up and we will touch the preliminary support again. We'll touch it at least one more time before we break down. And likely what we'll end up seeing is the price fall back down to maybe through two support levels before it will make its final move and it breaks through that upward ceiling. And in order to illustrate that, I'll kind of, let me go see if I can go and find this. Somebody had shared with me a really, really, really cool chart. I believe it was, I'm trying to think of the member's name who is in the Discord that showed me this. It's just going to be awkward silence while I go and search for this person who drew this amazing chart. Ugh, I'm so frustrated that I didn't save this image.
Yeah, and
Cat, I
whenever
need.
you're,
Sorry, go ahead.
what you need?
I was gonna say, quick, save me, cat. I need filler content.
Well, I was going to say, coming up here momentarily, when you are done, we do have a question regarding BKKT, a couple other things. So as you're looking for that, I can pull it up. It is interesting because they mentioned just what is with the little spike in price there right at market close, that massive amount of volume that came in. Is that 951? 10 sideways most of the day. And that's a bit interesting too, because I do tend to see at the end of the day we have like large pours of volume come in. And I think I actually asked, I think I asked Matt about that at one point, and he made a comment about it being kind of an amalgamation of a lot of trades that weren't necessarily recorded throughout the day, that sometimes come in near the end. Of course, that wouldn't necessarily explain the price. The actual volume in and of itself, I have seen. You could even look at, as an example, like the S&P 500. First minute candle is massive comparatively on the day, and I believe that was the explanation that I received for it. I'm sure True Demon can give a little more insight on that.
So we're looking for the initial moves on the SPY that indicate the. I'm sorry, I missed part of that explanation you were giving before your question.
Oh, no, you're fine. The original question was just regarding BKKT, because
BKKT.
that at the end of the day had kind of a volume stair step up, and then one large volume candle in the last minute or in the first minute of 4 p.m. close, and had a price jump. So I guess they were curious about what you thought about that.
Well, I think that it kind of sucks for me because I recently I considered my exit, and I believe I got filled on my exit because it wasn't looking particularly good. So I ended up just getting I got shysted out of my position. Yep, I did. I got filled. So I set a stop out on my BKKT calls, and that's because I'm playing with limited capital, so I have to be really conservative with my risk at the moment. And I got killed in this sell off, so I got stopped out. So this,
Me too, man.
yeah, it really sucks because now I would like to have those calls. Those calls were extremely cheap, and if I had any capital, I would have bought them because I knew that a reversion was going to come. But because I got stopped out, it closed my trade, and that happens automatically. But like this was entirely engineered, and you could see it in the flow. So it's just algorithms. They're very good at they're really good at hunting down people that have stop losses. It's extremely effective.
It's interesting too, because if you look at the daily, the all-time low is almost exactly, what is it here? Or it's exactly $8, and the lowest candle as of recent was exactly 850. So it looks like whatever. To your point, the algorithmic trading really liked that 50-cent mark, probably because it essentially would be starting to create the only uptrend that it seems to have had as of recent times, based off of just the all-time chart.
It gets really frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, and that's another one that looks like one giant wedge essentially, just hoping to break at some point. And when it does, I mean, it's been building a while. I can only see it being an explosive move if and when it does.
Yeah, I should I should probably consider if I am going to play this, how far out I'm going to play it. But I'm thinking that any reasonable call will have to be sometime in March or further.
I would say, yeah. I mean, at least a couple months, just
Yeah.
because that could continue to sell off build, and also then you got to consider, if you ever want to average down in the event that it did kind of break to the 8 or the 850 or anything like that. And then I do have a question here from Mr. Phillip, and it's are you gents watching the MOC orders? AMC and Prague both look interesting.
Yeah, market on close orders have been. That's exactly what that was with BKKT. It was a market on close order. So whatever buying took place, it takes place right at the very last minute of the day. And it's kind of like we're acquiring so many shares regardless of price, and it just pulls all of those. And it can be in a buying or a selling direction, but in this case, it was a buying direction.
And I was going to say, to that point, was my general explanation of that kind of correct earlier, or was I way? I just want to make sure I'm not giving people bad information.
Oh, somebody posted. Oh, was that the. Why won't it let me click into this? Yes, this was it. All right, I have to bring these two images on screen.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Verde. By the way, I did see that you were posting a lot of good stuff just now recently in live stream chat, as well as I was scrolling up and reading. It looks like he had posted some of the patents and things that we were referring to a little earlier.
Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody trying to help carry me as I'm trying to figure out this whole YouTube thing. Okay. So this is the image that Ben E Legends from the Discord had posted. I believe his name was Technotoad at some point, and that's probably why I couldn't find him. I was looking for I was looking for somebody based on their Discord name and not their nickname.
Yeah, I'd be very lost nowadays if I didn't know the names of people originally in some of the discords I was in, because they've changed the names quite a bit.
Yeah. There we go. So here's the phase A, B, C, D that I talk about. So full breakdown past this preliminary support line and the selling climax, and then we see several breakdowns to lower lows, and then suddenly a significant breakout, and then head up past our previous resistances that are in the middle of this range, and then finally a test and consolidation at that preliminary support level before a final shot towards the stratosphere. And now if we look at Progenity, that same thing's presented itself here. We see the sell-off coming down here from the long term. Thank you so much, Ben, for charting this out. This is a perfect Wyckoff chart. So these two ranges here, where we see this middle support line with the higher lows, where we keep bouncing, testing, and hovering and consolidating around this midpoint, and we never get out of these ranges. But now that we have hit our spring, we are likely to go and see our next series of tests for this support here, and we've actually cracked it. 280, I would say that 280 is a bit closer because I think this line should just be a few cents lower, but it's pretty close. And once we crack 280, that's when we start heading back towards where we originally were. It may not happen this quickly or volatilely, but I do have a feeling that we're going to start testing these levels again soon. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Progenity does for the long term once we crack through these levels.
And we did have another question from Verde as well on CRT.
Hey, I have to go for just a second.
Oh, okay, no problem. And now we have a silent demon. And yeah, for anyone listening at the moment, couple little things. I'm a little delayed on treating the stream like everyone else on YouTube, so I'm trying to visually kind of keep up with what he's doing. And of course, for anyone listening, just live stream questions and just like at me if you can, just because it makes it a little easier for me to see and all that stuff. Trying to figure out the most efficient way to do all this.
And just a quick reminder, guys. Both Mr. Boulay and I, we are filtering the questions to keep live stream questions as clear as possible. So if we know it's a question that's been asked a few times, we won't post it again because we know it's on the live stream and we're responding on YouTube in real time uh, to let you guys know, hey, it's been answered before. You can find it on the live stream earlier. So great job to everybody else. Let's keep that up.
Hey, I apologize. I'm coming back to say that there's an emergency going on here, and I have to close everything right now, and I have to go. I really apologize to everybody, but I have to go. Thank you so much for coming into the stream. Everything's okay, but I have to go.
You have a good rest of your day, good session. Hope everything's okay.
Yeah.